Hey, Mr. Pond, you ready?
Yep.
Clove. Clove.
Here.
Is it not time for my painkiller?
No.
In my house, someday you'll be blind, like me. You'll be sitting there, a speck in the void, in the dark, forever, like me. One day you'll say to yourself, I'm tired, I'll sit down. And you'll go and sit down. Then you'll say, I'm hungry, I'll get up, I'll get something to eat. But you won't get up. You'll say, I shouldn't have sat down. But since I have, I'll sit on a little longer. But you won't get up. And you won't get anything to eat. You'll say, I'm tired. You'll say, I'll close my eyes. Perhaps have a little sleep. After that, and when you open them again, there'll be no wall anymore. Infinite emptiness will be all around you. All the resurrected dead of all the ages wouldn't fill it. And there you'll be. A small piece of grit in the middle of the steppe. Yes, one day you'll know what it is. You'll be like me. Except that you won't have anyone with you because you won't have had any pity on anyone. And because there won't be anyone left to have pity on. Well, you'll lie down then. Or you'll come to a standstill. Simply stop and stand still the way you are now. One day you'll say, I'm tired. I'll stop. What does the attitude matter? The second one is from Matthew Weiner. He's a writer of Mad Men, and don't look for it because he wrote the words, but I adapted it. This monologue doesn't exist anywhere except up here.
Oh, good.
What are the experiences in life? They're like doors. The first time you come to one, you say, what's on the other side of the door? Then you go through a couple of these doors and you say, I think I'm going over that bridge this time. I'm tired of doors. Finally, you go through one of these things and you come out the other side and you realize that's all there are. Doors and gates and windows and bridges. And they all open the same way. And they all close behind you. life is supposed to be a path. You go along and these things happen to you. They're supposed to change you, change your direction. But that's not true. Turns out these experiences are nothing. They're just some pennies you pick up along the way and you stick them in your pocket and you keep going in a straight line to you know where. You know, I used to jump off mountains. And it never occurred to me that I had this invisible parachute. My mother loved me. And in some completely pointless way, it's gone. So there it is. When she died, she gave me my last new experience. Now I know that all I'll be doing is losing everything. I'm just acknowledging that life will eventually end, and somebody else will get the bill.
Yeah.
So the last one is written. This last one is written by Mr. David Mamet, and it's the opening monologue to the play Race.
Yes.
Sit down. You want to tell me about black folks? I'll help you. OJ was guilty. Rodney King was in the wrong place, but the police have the right to use force. Malcolm X was noble when he renounced violence. Prior to that, he was misguided. Dr. King was, of course, a saint. He was killed by a jealous husband. And you had a maid when you were young who was better to you than your mother. She raised you. You've never fucked a black girl, but you sat near one in science class. And she was actually rather shy. You're absolutely right. You would not say any of this shit. Which is the purpose of the lesson. Do you know what you can say to a black man on the subject of race? Absolutely nothing. How about that? Thank you.
Greg Pond.
Shot.
Yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to give this to Richard over
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay.
This thing may be streaming, it may not. I don't know what's going on. Oh, he has it over there. It's changing, so I'm thinking that it's streaming, but it's not showing. It's not showing. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So they say in France.
Teachers and bucket.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Greg Pond. We adore you madly.
It's good to be back.
Good to be back.
Ellington, love you madly.
I
heard Greg on tape.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're up late, huh? These are two short ones. This is entitled War at Home. The people at home don't care anymore. The people at home forgot there's a war, where some people fight, where hate blocks the light, where broken children bleed and greed's the only goal. The people at home pretend they don't know what the people at war have been fighting for. and those who hide behind the door are the privileged ones, not the poor, while greed trumps the need to protect our susceptible souls from the horrors of war abroad and the horrors of war at home.
Yeah.
General apathy. Comrades, it's time to unite, to fight a common enemy, marching under the command of an advancing General Apathy, who is more than happy to lead us towards inaction, relegate us to reacting instead of being proactive or tracking a better course. So much easier to resign from life when we're already so tired and only desire to be safe and secure. Why worry for lack of lock or key if there's no curiosity of what lies behind the door? But how can we achieve any unity, fight the power, or feed the poor when we don't even seem to care that we don't care anymore?
Yeah.
Wow. Bring home the voice. Garrett Murphy. Thank you. See, it's like it's doing weird stuff. So let's see what happens. This is like.
And the original World War. One follower comes along and makes a gesture of sorts, says, "Praise to my deity that's the greatest one of all." Another comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says, "Praise to my deity that's the greatest of all." A third comes along, makes a gesture of sorts, says, "All praise to my deity that's the supreme one of all." A fourth comes along and makes a gesture of sorts, says, "Sing praises to my deity, it's the mightiest of all." And all this continues to similar effect. Then all you know what begins to percolate. "What do you mean your deity? My deity is the greatest of all. What sacrilege? Mine is the greatest deity. You're both wrong. Mine is the omnipotent deity. Says you'll all burn in Hades at the fate of my deity. None of your deities can compare with mine. Blasphemer, sinner, infidel."
Right.
Needless to say, before too long, a battle of all with many fronts has occurred and sadly continues to this day. And one can't help but surmise to oneself whether countless distances above the continual war, the various deities who have been referred to by the warriors below are shaking their heads with resignation and sympathy as they discuss among themselves this well-worn query: what have we done to deserve these for our followers?
Oh.
Why we call them the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
Show-offs display inner hubris. They hijack the skies for the usual egomania of the ugliest of us, while they fancy themselves starring in some remake of Top Gun. All same moves end up feeling many shades of blue. So why the name of angels? Really, what did you expect for them to dub themselves? The military's past due accounts. At long last and long overdue, the military has come to its senses and women can serve in combat. But of course, women have been in combat all along, with the bruises and traumas and the casualties to prove it. They've just made official what's been true all along, so now they'll get some rights to go with all the responsibilities. But what would truly balance things, though that may be far longer past due, is the abolition of the requirement for men to sign up on the list of selective service.
Hey.
This is you, yeah? And now Sharon Scott Kish will take us On the road again.
Okay, all right.
Give her a nice round, please.
Uh-oh, Sharon Kay is in the house.
Oh, sorry about that. Hold on. You know how to do this. You're a professional. But it's all right. We appreciate everything you do.
As well you should.
As well I should.
Well you should.
My mom used to say that.
Of course you did, Leslie. The real radical is the person who has a vision of equality and is willing to do the things to bring that reality closer to vision. Bayard Rustin. God is just. When he created man, he made him in his image and never intended one should misuse the other. All men are born free and equal in this sight. Susie King Taylor, 1848 to 1912, former slave and army nurse. You guys like Kansas City that well? I'll give you some more.
Kansas City.
And this is called A Horse of a Different Color. Isaac and his horse, Gertie, were early risers. A huckster, he had to be at the farmer's market to meet the wholesalers before daybreak. From there to the garment district to buy cloth, linen, the restaurant supply for pots and pans. Each day was the same, different route each day. Lights on early, splash cold water on himself, go out back to feed Gertie. Inside, his wife Esther was heating the water for his coffee, and she had started to make the matzo brie. Same meal each morning except Sundays. They sat down for a real breakfast. Homemade poppy seed rolls, kippers, eggs, onions, dark coffee, and fruit. Sometimes Siberian soldier's bread, the real black rye. Fresh berry jam and butter that Gertie had churned for herself. Milk from the cows the Hortons had down the street. Since they lived down on the outskirts of town, the neighborhood was an easy place to barter. For food, they had geese, ducks, pigs, chickens. Some even had large gardens. Some kosher stores, fish markets, and a kosher butcher. A booming area, streets that were narrow, crowded, and all the faces were familiar. No need to carry money, just pay the bill on Friday before sundown. A clock could be set by all of them. Each day, he and Gertie would go up and down the street, clock, clock, clock. And the women carefully listened for them and pulling their curtains back. Out the door they would run, carefully eyeing his wagon. Some would bring knives to be sharpened and scissors too. He never sold damaged vegetables or fruit, so he was always welcome. It was a welcome sight. He always kept perfect records, so there was never a question about a bill he owed, or anyone owed. Fruits, vegetables, fabric, bed linens, right on your doorstep. And the kids loved him. Each visit, they learned a new Yiddish word. And always the chance to be with Gertie and to give her a treat. And Gertie loved going with them, nudging her way into their pockets to find the treat. He always had news of the neighborhood since it was exchanged freely. The men loved the care he took in sharpening their tools. For some, they preferred to wait for him rather than go to the hardware store. He was an honest man, and he did damn good work. And the lodge men even made him a member of an all-colored lodge, Prince Hall Lodge. He was the only Lithuanian Jew. For his son, and for some, he was the best. For his son's bar mitzvah, his lodge buddies came. Pheasants, lots of food, drink, and dancing. It was a sight for his friends and neighbors to see. When his son Jacob married, the entire lodge showed up. Pheasants, sashes, white gloves, women in gowns and furs. It was a sight. Children, party clothes with presents, a band, kids dancing, learning the Hora, and with the old ladies, the kids were teaching them how to jitterbug. Lots of drinks and lots of seltzer water before bed. One morning, Mr. Benson, in a hurry, as he always was, backed his car out of the driveway into the wagon. Screeching and yelling, the cart was turned over. Gertie was knocked to the ground. That fool. Why did he come down that driveway so fast? Everyone was out the door in the street, kids racing to Gertie. Mrs. Stevenson, who had been sweeping her sidewalk, came over and gave Benson a few belts in the face with her broom. Soon all gathered and straightened up the wagon and got Gertie out. But the wagon was broken beyond repair. Leland Cross got his truck, filled it with Edgar's goods. Rollins put Gertie in the back of his truck and took her home. After finishing the route, Leland called a lodge meeting for that night. Mr. Benson was present. That's it, Benson. You are responsible for this damage. Damage to a fellow brother and a brother's property. You must replace it. You can borrow it from the treasury, but you must be an honest man. So it was settled. Saturday morning, the truck was to be bought, and the lodge descended on the nearest car lot. Lots of kicking tires and slamming doors. A deal was cut. New truck. Over to Isaac's house. New truck, new keys, full tank. The neighborhood waited outside. Once they saw Isaac come out with the keys in his hand, the cheers went up. People called one another, and before long, it was a block party. It took Isaac, and Isaac admitted, a few days to get the hang of the gears and the clutch. But soon he was on his old route, and Gertie tied to the back of the fender, honking and shouting at each other. Stop. Wesley at the garage had painted the truck's panel mitzvah, and another word the kids learned.
All right.
Und next,
Oh, wait.
Noah.
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 Are you new?
I'm new.
All right, he's new!
Hello.
Hello!
Thank you for welcoming me to your community. I had no idea this was going to happen tonight, but I've been sitting here